A very warm welcome back to the Football Martin channel. My name is Martin Sanders. I'm here with a brand new show, a brand new series that's going to be updated on a monthly basis. I'm going to be producing videos and content all around Premier League survival. I'm going to be getting guests from each of the clubs that are struggling at that moment in time and finding an expert in and around that club. It could be a podcaster, it could be a broadcaster, but there's so many great content creators out there that bringing one of those onto the show to focus on their team, I think is a brilliant idea to bring you an insight into that football club. And today is going to be all around Wolverhampton Wanderers. What has gone wrong at Wolves because they find themselves bottom of the Premier League at this moment in time. And I'm going to be joined by a special guest from Wolves, talking Wolves. I have Dave joining me. He is a broadcaster, podcaster, and he knows Wolverhampton Wanderers inside out. He's going to give me the lowdown on what has gone wrong at Wolves and why do they find themselves at the bottom of the Premier League right now. Make sure you do smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as we get into our first episode of Premier League Survival here on the Football Martin channel. I am now joined by Dave from Talking Wolves. Dave, thank you very much for joining me. First and foremost, shout out your channel. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so we're over at Talking Wolves. So yeah, we do YouTube, obviously all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as well, and a little bit of everything. So the podcasts, sort of reviewing the matches, and then obviously previews, instant reactions, and things like that. So yeah, you can check us out mainly over on YouTube on Talking Wolves. But yeah, thanks for having me, mate.
No, I appreciate you coming on. I've been watching your content all season. I've got obviously a firm interest in you guys as a Saints fan. I'm chatting to everybody in and around sort of like the bottom 6-7 really. I'm actually really surprised to see Wolves there really. Side that have done so well in recent years, always in around mid-table, look like really establishing yourselves as a really consistent side. What's gone wrong this season, Dave, at Wolves?
Oh, I wish I could put my finger exactly on what has gone wrong. I think firstly, a tough fixture list hasn't helped us. We have had a really tough start. I think we've played 6 of the top 8 already within our sort of open run of fixtures. And yeah, frustrating start. So I think everyone knew it was going to be difficult, but ultimately it's been the manner of the defeats so far for Wolves. The way that we've thrown away matches from winning positions or in certain games, conceded way too many goals. The Chelsea game is a perfect example where we went in at half time at 2-2. We had a lot of momentum, ended up conceding 4 pretty much identical goals and losing the game, or 3 identical goals and losing the game quite heavily. And then at Brentford last weekend, just gone, there was a lot of pressure on Gary O'Neill already. And I think everyone had earmarked that game and thought, right, no disrespect to Brentford, but they're probably, in this next stretch of fixtures, the most winnable game. And we just didn't make a good account of ourselves there either. So strange, because we've got very good players, Martin. We've got a very good squad. We've got some great individual players.
A brilliant squad of players.
Yeah, exactly. On paper, we probably shouldn't be in and around this position, but what I'm hoping for is that when we get to November, we have a much more sort of, no disrespect to the teams that we're playing, with much more winnable, much friendlier fixture list, and that's where we can get points on the board. But if we don't start November brilliantly, then I do fear for us. I'm afraid.
Yeah, you spoke about Gary O'Neill. Come in, did fairly well when he came in. Is he under a serious pressure right now? A lot of the sides in around that bottom 3, all the managers seem to be under pressure. Even the Palace manager, Glasner, he's under pressure as well. Martin's under pressure at Southampton. There's a lot of talk around Gary O'Neill. You're at Wolves, you live and breathe it. How much pressure is on him in the fan base?
There is a lot. I think it's interesting because a little part of me thinks fair play to the club, because they've sort of almost, not publicly as such, but it's come out in the press that they are siding with him until they want to give him the chance to turn things around, and giving him more than likely until early part of November, I'd assume, before the next international break. But I'm very surprised that he kept his job after Saturday's performance. I felt like the Brentford game, he had to get something out of that match. and or at the very least put in a good performance, and we did neither of those. You know, we lost that game heavily. We were awful despite scoring 3 goals. Defensively, it's probably the worst defensive performance I've seen from Wolves since we got back promoted into the Premier League. So yeah, it was a lot of pressure on him, and like I said, I'm surprised he's still here. A good amount of Wolves fans on social media sort of expected him to go after Saturday, but part of me, you know, I'm a fan of Wolverhampton Wanderers. I want the best of this club, so you know, I've got to back the manager, and you know, until you know, I think fair play to the club for backing him. I'll support him whilst he's in the dugout still. But Wolves are risking it a little bit, because I think if you get to November, you still, like, we've got City next, you lose that game, we've got Brighton away, you don't pick up points there, and then we've got, I think, yourself, Southampton, and then Palace is the first 2 in November. He has to win those games. Simply, he has to win those games. But yeah, pressure's on him. I think the pressure is on him.
Yeah, the players always play a key role, don't they, in performances? Is there certain individuals just not playing to the standard they were playing at last season? Is there anything where you can really put your finger on where it's gone wrong, sort of playing wise?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few players, you know, Neto's obviously a big loss for us, but ultimately he had a lot of injuries last year. But then in terms of players that are still here, Cunha is somebody who's, you know, scored a good amount of goals for us last season, and still whenever I watch him, I think, yes, he's one of the best players on the pitch, but for some reason it's just not clicking for him. Hwang is just, his form has just fallen off a cliff. You know, he scored again, got 12 goals for us last season. Struggled a little bit.
He was really good last year, wasn't he? Really good last year. Really good, wasn't he? Yeah.
Cunha, Hwang, and Neto started the season off brilliantly, and then it got to January where Neto had just picked up an injury. Hwang had gone over to the Asia Cup, and he'd come back injured and just could never find that form again. And he's been really poor, almost to the fact that when he got subbed on Saturday, he got Gary O'Neill, and Gary O'Neill got booed basically for bringing Hwang on, because, and I don't think that's much, you know, too much against Hwang. I think it's just the fact that every time we need quite a positive change, he's looked to Hwang. And it was evident after sort of the last 3 or 4 games that substitute has just not worked out, you know, bringing Hwang on. And then other things like defensively, we've been really poor. Lamina, again, a player that I really like. And obviously he's been at Saints before as well. Just
we know him. Yeah, we know him well.
Almost feels like he's trying a bit too hard, as mad as it sounds. You know, he's so I'm just hoping this international break now. I'm hoping he's come at a good time for Wolves. He can settle down a little bit, try new things, try different things, and try and get these players that were playing some brilliant football for us last season back to the top of their game.
Yeah, it's just getting those players performing again, isn't it? Like you talk about the international break now. There's another one. Was it 4 weeks away? So the next block of fixtures is massive, isn't it? I think it's massive for anybody certainly for us, Southampton. I look at the run of fixtures after the international break. We have to play Leicester at home. We've got Man City away, Everton at home, and then Wolves away. That's a huge run of fixtures. How do your fixtures look for you between the next 2 breaks?
So, like I said earlier, we start off quite tough when we return, because we play Manchester City at home, and then we've got Brighton away.
Yeah.
And then I'm fairly sure it's Southampton and Palace, both at Molineux. So I think for
huge
me, those
games at home, isn't it?
Massive games, yeah. And you know, those 2 are the ones that Gary O'Neill he has to win. I think he has to get 6 points from those, which, you know, is difficult, because I think Saints is the first one in November. I think if you lose that, or you know, play poorly, that it's going to be toxic around Molineux, and I think he'll be gone. But what you risk with that is that you're getting into the middle of November there, you're still winless, or you maybe picked up 1 win. All of a sudden your list of potential managers is like halved, or, you know, just a fraction of what it could have been. So it's a risk from Wolves. But they gave him a new deal in the summer, so they almost have to back him. They have to side of him, really. Yeah, a new 4-year deal last summer, so they had to back him. But
wow.
I like Gary. I hope he could turn it around, but ultimately, you know, season ticket prices went up. You know, a lot of negativity around Molineux. You just want to go to Molineux, either win games or watch attractive football, and we're not really getting either of those at the moment. Yeah,
so disappointing as a fan, isn't it? Like you say, manager gets a new contract. You expect to pick up where you left off. Southampton had a similar thing. They give Russell Martin another year on his current deal, so he's got another couple of years with the club, and you feel like they're backing him. And then the season starts so poorly, and then you look at the fixtures, think, well, there's a little block of games that we should be picking up points. When you don't get them, you think, well, actually, we've thrown those home games away, and you just don't want to keep throwing games away, do you?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think everyone's sort of thinking, like if we get somebody in now, they've almost got the whole of because our stretch from, like I said earlier, from November to Christmas really are really nice fixtures. And some
Mm,
people are like, if we get somebody in, they can have a real nice run to kick off their, their time at Wolves. But ultimately, I think Wolves have been quite fair to Gary O'Neill. I don't think he could come out in the press saying he was harshly treated, because Wolves have done more than that for him. So City and Brighton are tough games. I feel, although Brighton away on paper is a tough game, whenever I watch this against Brighton, I always think we could go toe to toe with them. We can give them a good match, but it's those two at the start before the next international. Southampton and Palace, they are massive for Gary O'Neill. Absolutely massive.
yeah. You've got a feeling. You watch the team week in, week out. You know the club inside out. Do you see it? Do you see it being turned around in the way that it needs to be turned around, and you can get yourself out of this mess? Because nobody's really cut adrift at this moment in stage. We've only played 7 games. People panic in football, don't they? But there's loads of time to turn it around, isn't there?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think with it, like you said, with the team, we've already played Liverpool, we played Arsenal, we played, Chelsea, Newcastle, Villa. We've played some really tough teams. And I don't know. Somebody asked me this. Somebody asked me if I think he'll be manager at the end of the season, and to be fair, I said no. Only because I can see it getting to early November, and I can see him going. But on the flip side of that, this is Wolves, and I've been a Wolves fan long enough to know that in a couple of weeks against Manchester City at Molineux, we'll probably end up beating them. Like, it's just, as football fans, that's the sort of thing that happens. So I don't know. I really don't know. And even the stuff like relegation, it's not even crossed my mind. Like you said, I think it's so early still in the season, so many points still to be won. I think Wolves are stronger than other teams, a few other teams than in this competition. So yeah, but I don't know. I think part of me thinks he'll be okay, because I think there have been maybe 50 to 60 minutes of some matches where we've been fantastic, and maybe not fantastic, but good enough to win the football match. But then we let ourselves down for the last 20 minutes, half an hour. But other parts of me thinks defensively we've been awful. I don't know. But same
You
way
just
for
want your club to stay in the Premier League, don't you?
Of
You don't
course,
want
I'm
to
not
drop
one
out of
who's in
it. Like,
charge.
none of us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, like we're the same. We just don't want to drop back out of it because it's such a gamble getting back out of the Championship, which is so competitive, so difficult. We only just got up last year, and to go back down and the heartache you go through going down, losing players and staff, it's just relegation is not anything you want for your football club, is it?
No, I've had a few fans, and I think you always get it. Fans like, I prefer the Championship anyway. Better away days, win some more matches. I said, after about 12 months, if you're stuck there, you will not be saying the same thing. It's I'd rather be in the Premier League. Obviously, I don't want to be in a relegation battle every season, because it's not good for my my mental health or anything like that. It's frustrating. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to go down to the Championship, because you don't know how long you're going to be stuck there for.
Yeah, we've been there, and it's not particularly nice. Any standout performers this season for Wolves? Any shining lights in amongst some difficult weeks?
New lad Andre has been pretty good, in midfielder that we'd signed from Brazil as a defensive midfielder. It's a weird one, because he was almost not really an essential. We didn't really need to buy him because our central midfield was quite strong. But we signed Andre, and he looks very good, albeit against Brentford. I think that was his worst game in a Wolves shirt. But for the short time that I've seen him, looks a very good player. Other than that, there's not been a huge amount. We saw Jorgen Strand Larsen, a big number 9 up front. He's, works his socks off, got a couple of goals so far, which is nice, obviously, to get him off the mark sooner rather than later. But other than that, the guys that I really expected to step up haven't really done that so far. So I'm hoping over the next few weeks, my opinion, you can change. Like, for argument's sake, when we come to play you in a few weeks, if we do a match preview, I'm really hoping I'm a lot more upbeat and a lot more positive about the situation.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be more positive as well. We play very much possession based, keep the ball. It's a slow build up. What's the style been this season from Wolves? Is it been a bit more direct? You're talking about the big number 9. Does he like to go into the number 9 a bit more and get your team up the field that bit quicker?
Yeah, I mean, his hold-up play is very good. And he can normally feed in the ball, and he retains possession quite well. Not so much aerially, but even on the floor, he's for somebody. I think he's 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", very good. With the ball at his feet as well. I wish I could tell you how we've been trying to play, because I think last year it was almost like in the transition, very nice, quick counter-attacking football. Whereas I think we tried to. I don't even know. We're trying to play a high line. It's just not worked out. We've had injuries in certain areas which haven't helped. But there's no real strategy at the moment. There's no real plan A or plan B for Gary O'Neill. So, we've switched to a back four. We were back five last season, which worked quite well. We switched to a back four. So trying to get more forward players involved, which I don't mind. I like the thinking behind it. But ultimately, with a back five last year, we I think we scored enough goals until we had the injuries. So I would have kept it with the shape that we had personally, but we've swapped that. It's not really worked out. I do wonder against City if he'll change back to a back five. I'm not sure. And use the wing backs for that width. But whatever he's done so far definitely hasn't worked. So I think something needs to change after the international break.
Yeah, sounds like something's going to change. It's a nice way to end it. Thank you very much for coming on today. Thank you for an insight into Wolves. We look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks because we'll be on our way to Molineux. My first visit to Molineux. I've never been there actually as a fan, so really looking forward to coming up. So November time, isn't it? So
early November.
Really for that.
Don't judge the away end too much because the away end isn't great to be honest. But if you appreciate the rest of the stadium and how traditional it is, you'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely. Dave, thank you very much for coming on today. Dave from Talking Wolves, make sure you go check out their content. It's absolutely tremendous. The YouTube channel, go over and subscribe to it now. I'll leave all the links to Talking Wolves in the comments box below, and you can go check them out. Thank you very much for joining, and we'll see you again soon.